everyone. In this video, I am going to walk you through your IP2 assignment. I'm going to give you some important details that will help you be successful on this assignment. So hopefully you'll stick with me through this and I can give you some information that will help you to get the best score possible. So first we're going to take a look at the assignment itself. You'll notice in the beginning it provides you with a sentence stating, use this template to complete the assignment. So the words this template are a hyperlink, which means when you click it, it will actually download your template for you. You will need to submit this template for your assignment, so make sure that you're downloading that template. And if you have any issues with downloading your template, you can reach out to tech support and they can help you, walk you through that process for downloading that template. Remember, you will need to have Microsoft Office to be able to open this. You will need to make sure that you have the proper software and hardware to be able to complete assignments for your upper level psychology classes. The first thing you'll see when you download the template is your cover page. You must submit this cover page to follow proper APA formatting. So on this cover page, you'll be changing that highlighted section to your own name. And remember to keep this as its own separate page so it's a cover page. You're required to have a cover page in APA formatting. So don't decide to delete all the space below it and have this follow immediately, because you need to have that as a separate page. Now, this is what the first page of your assignment looks like. Notice it has several highlighted areas that gives you details about what belongs in each section. You will be leaving the parts of the assignment which are not highlighted, so anything that's just in plain black with no highlight, you'll be leaving that and entering the information in those highlighted sections. Now you will also notice beside choose one that it says list below. Now if you scroll down further in your assignment, you will notice that this section of the assignment appears there stating choose 2 to 3 parts of the brain from the following list. And it provides you with the list hippocampus, prefrontal cortex, amygdala, pons, temporal lobe, frontal lobe, corpus callosum, and cerebral cortex. So for this assignment, you will be choosing 2 to 3 parts of the brain from that provided list. So looking back at the assignment, the first part of this assignment that you're going to be writing is your introduction paragraph. Remember that paragraphs are at least 3 sentences. Type up whatever you feel would be a good introduction to this assignment. How can you introduce this information where you're going to be talking about parts of the brain, you're going to be talking about sensation, perception, memory, and attention, and you're going to be talking about what role those parts of the brain play in organizational behavior. What kind of an introduction can you type here? Remember to indent. If it's not automatically indenting for you, like is set in the template, you would press the Tab key on your keyboard 1 time to indent. Remember to use text wrap. With text wrap, you do not press enter when you think you're at the end of a line. You let it just wrap around and bring it to the right part of the page for you. It will make sure that you are typing things the way that you're supposed to be. It'll determine where it needs to move down to the next line for you. You should not be pressing enter when you think you're at the end of a line. You only press enter at the end of a paragraph. The final note in this section reminds you to delete all of the highlighted portions once you're done with the assignment before you submit it. So once you are done with your introduction, you will move on to the first full part of your assignment. And the first step of this assignment asks you to choose a part of the brain from the list provided. So again, here is that list that you were provided. And you are going to choose a part of the brain and you're going to write it next to part of the brain 1. Which part of the brain are you selecting? Now, you will know, you'll be able to tell from this, I did not choose a part of the brain from that list. That was intentional. Here is my reason. I don't want anyone to be tempted to cheat and use whatever part of the brain I choose for my example as their own work in the assignment. I wanted to remove that temptation, therefore I picked a part of the brain that's not on the list intentionally. I wanted to eliminate that concern. If you have questions on this, please let me know. So again, I purposely did not pick a part of the brain from that list, but you will be choosing a part of the brain from that provided list. So choose one of the parts of the brain and you will type whatever part of the brain you select next to where it says Brain Part 1. The next step of the assignment asks you to explain what that part of the brain is responsible for. Again, this should be at least 3 sentences. As you saw in the rubric, you need to make sure you're addressing perception, attention, learning, and/or memory in your description. For the olfactory, I address sensation and perception because it's the part of your brain that is responsible for your sense of smell. The last part of this first section of the brain asks you to discuss why that part of the brain is important to understand in organizational behavior. Remember that this is supposed to be focused on organizational behavior, not just behavior or life in general. Make sure that you focus on organizational behavior. It needs to have that connection to organizational behavior specifically. So notice for this I gave the example of if a firefighter can't smell something, can't smell smoke or natural gas, that can actually be a danger. They're not going to do well in that career, and to be perfectly honest, it's life-threatening, not just to themselves, but to people they might be there trying to help. Now, you'll repeat this whole process so that when you're done, you've discussed 2 to 3 parts of the brain. You'll go through the rest of the section of your template and fill it out just like you did these first 3. Then, you will type a conclusion. Again, this should be at least 3 sentences. What can you say to sum up everything that you discussed in your assignment? How can you kind of sum up and put a nice bow on everything you talked about in your assignment? The next page is a reference page. There are details here about how to correctly quote and cite several different types of references. Once you read through all of this, you will delete it since it's highlighted. So you will need to include your own references, whatever you have used for the assignment, and you will delete all these highlighted portions. Now, for my citation, you notice that I used the brain section of your Unit 1 in telepath. I created a citation because I read it. So please remember, even if you are not quoting or providing an in-text citation for a source, if you read the source to get information to help you complete the assignment, you must include it on your reference page. Since I read the Unit 1 in telepath, I must provide a citation for that section of Unit 1 in telepath that relates to what I'm writing about. So the brain section of your Unit 1 in telepath, I need to cite in telepath because I read in telepath. This is exactly what your citation should look like. Since you read Unit 1 of IntelliPath, you will need to provide a citation as well. It needs to look just like you see here. Points will be lost if you do not give credit to IntelliPath for this assignment. So make sure that you are giving credit to IntelliPath. You are welcome to use additional websites, references to complete your assignment. So one quick last reminder on citation. If I went to this website to get information on parts of the brain, I went to this exact website and used this page to go find information. That means I need to give that exact web page as my reference. So notice I have it highlighted in yellow here. What you need to provide is the exact web page you used, not just the overall website. So you click up here and you copy that whole thing, and that is what gets pasted in as your URL or link for your reference. You must provide that full page. If I decided to just type in verywellmind.com and use that as my link instead of the full link, that would mean that I used this page to create my assignment. Well, I didn't. I used this page. Notice how it has very different pieces of information. This is an article about parts of the brain, and this is just the main landing page for the website. It does not have my article that I used. So if I did that, I would not be giving proper credit to my source. So you must use the exact web page that you used for your assignment. You must provide that link. Now, for additional information on correctly quoting and citing and giving proper credit to sources, you can take a look at that paraphrasing, citation, and plagiarism reminders announcement. It will give you all the details you need on how to correctly cite your sources. And at the bottom of that, you will notice that there is a link to the Writing Center's APA page. You can follow that link to get support for your references, for creating your references. Additionally, I'd like to offer my own support. If you have a web page and you're not sure how to create a proper citation for it, you can message it to me and ask how to create a proper citation, and I'm happy to show you how to do that. So please remember that your IP2 assignment is due by 11:59 p.m. Central Time on Sunday of Unit 2. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks for watching.